I have a little model that we used at a previous organisation, and it's a really simple 3-step approach for line managers. Now, this kind of assumes that line managers are talking to their staff on a fairly regular basis in some way, shape or form. But the first step is inquire, ask questions of the individuals on your team. And I'll go into each of these in a little bit more detail. The second step is listen. Really actively listen to the people that you're working with and supporting. And then the third step is provide support. So offer appropriate information and enable the individuals to start to identify their own solutions, but be able to point them in the right area that they're not in a position to identify their own solutions. So in terms of inquire, maybe helping your line managers by providing them with a list of handy questions, like a start of a 10 list of questions. So how are you feeling today? How long have you felt that way? Because for some people, it might just be that they've only felt like this way today, and today is a blip. Today's a bad day and tomorrow will be okay. But other people, they might say, do you know what, I feel really rubbish. I'm really struggling and I felt like it for a couple of weeks now. And then already you've got a different sense of the direction for that conversation based on how long have you felt that way. Is this ongoing? Has this been going on for quite a long time? Does it come and go? Do you want to have somebody that you can get support from? So being able to identify whether they've got support outside of work is really important, because if you're the only person who's asked them and shown any interest at all, again, that's potentially a different conversation to have with them. Is it work related? Great question to ask, often overlooked, because for some people it will be a really isolated issue to something very specific at work, and it might be really, really easy to resolve as well. But just asking the question, is it work related, is a really good start. And is there anything I can do to help? As your line manager, can I help in any way? Can I go and have conversations with somebody? Is there anything I can do for you? And not being afraid to ask that question. And that's not about offering to fix other people's problems for them, but it's about being curious about what that person's looking for. And then when we talk about listening, it's about largely about being able to avoid making assumptions. So just the story, being able to accept that their experience might not be your experience. And you might be sitting there going, well, this is just mental. I would never feel like that, but they're not you. And equally, you're not them. So just being able to, sit with that and listen. And if you don't understand, ask them questions about it. I don't know what I don't know what that feels like. I don't know how that would be. Can you tell me some more about what that's like for you? Because then you're gathering more information. You're having a better understanding of what this person might be struggling with. Be patient and be present. So switch your mobile phone off. Do it away from the desk. Have those conversations in a place where you can really give that person your time and your attention, even if it's only 10 minutes. And it might be that you decide that, every couple of weeks, you want to have a well-being check-in with the team as we go through this process of getting everybody back to work. And a line manager might say, well, I'm going to allow half an hour for each conversation. It doesn't matter if he doesn't use the full half an hour, but knowing that we've got this much time to have that conversation, being really clear at the start of the conversation. We've got 20 minutes, we've got half an hour to have a chat. I'm just really interested to understand how you're getting on at the moment. How are you feeling? And then in terms of support, concerns and their worries and their fears and what they're experiencing seriously, but being positive and supportive while you're doing that. So not getting stuck in their problems. Oh, that sounds awful. That must be really terrible. Trying to keep it so that it's supportive rather than getting sucked down into their problems. Taking into account maybe cultural differences, because that can be really important. Some people don't want your help. And not offering glib advice. So if people have got serious problems, and line managers understanding that there are appropriate ways of dealing with that, making sure they've got all of the support in place so that they understand where that is. Where can I signpost a member of staff to that is struggling at the moment? Because ultimately your line managers are not going to be able to resolve all of the problems that people have got. If they're work related, they can probably get the ball rolling. But for the more emotional and well-being type problems, all they can do is get the conversation started. And then it's about making sure that your line managers have all the information they need. So if I've got a member of my team who's really struggling at the moment, what do I do with them? Because otherwise I've taken the lid off and I can't put it back on again. And that person could end up feeling really uncontained, having kind of opened up to their line manager and said, yeah, I am really struggling at the moment. There's nothing I can do to help you, but thanks for telling me. And making sure that there is that right support process in place for line managers to go, right, so I hear what you're saying. Here's what we can do. Here's what I can offer you from a work perspective. But also making sure that maybe you've got a set of outside contact organisations that you can signpost people to as well. And, you know, keeping the conversations open and non-confrontational. So using the TED approach in when you're trying to elicit information from people. Tell me about, explain to me, describe that. So rather than using kind of, you know, the what and why type questions, to tell me a bit more about that. Can you explain what that's like for you? How does that impact, you know, explain how that impacts you on a day-to-day basis. How is that making it more difficult for you to do your job right now? Describe what it feels like when that happens, so that I can understand better how you're feeling, and maybe I'll be able to we can start to look for ways to. So I think, you know, being able to provide line managers with a crib sheet of questions they can ask and tips around how to actively listen and how to provide that appropriate support is probably going to be really useful for people, because they're going to be potentially asking more of those kinds of questions than they have done in the past.
Like you said, then knowing what they can do for that person and actually how they should react in that situation. So
exactly.
Great response to that question. I think so. Maybe businesses where in HR you are relying, or business owners that are relying on other managers, then actually we need to invest some time coaching and role plays with those managers to make sure that.
Absolutely, because not everybody's going to be comfortable with having those kinds of conversations either, especially if they've not had to have them before. So absolutely being supportive of your line managers and coaching and helping them to feel confident about being able to have slightly more difficult conversations, and maybe not focusing on the difficult side of the conversation and just focusing on helping them to feel confident in any kind of conversation that they have with their staff. So yeah, I think kind of coaching and encouraging line managers a really, really good idea. An alternative to that, obviously, if you're a single HR in a big organisation, is maybe if you've already got mental health first aiders in place, making more use of those, publicising again who those people are, making people aware that they're there to go to for a conversation, to get support. If you don't have mental health first aiders in your organisation at the moment, maybe looking at building a network of mental health champions, people who are happy to step up into that role and be the person that somebody else can come to and say, can I get a cup of tea and a chat, because I'm finding things really hard at the moment. And sometimes that's all people need, is the opportunity to just have a chat with somebody that they don't work with immediately, that isn't their line manager, who is just going to listen and go, that sounds really tough at the moment. What can we do to help? What can you do? Can I guide you in any way? So if you haven't got those people already, thinking about getting those people in place. And actually that's not a bad thing to have, you know, COVID-19 or not, moving forward.